Good morning children. Welcome back to social science class. Today we are going to discuss the chapter New Questions and Ideas. Many changes were taking place in the subcontinent around 2500 years ago. Some kings in the Mahajanapadas were growing more powerful. What are Mahajanapadas? Large kingdoms which were fortified and had a capital. Mahajanapadas means large kingdoms which were fortified and had a capital. So, some kings in the Mahajanapadas were growing more powerful. New cities were developing and the life was changing in the villages as well. Many thinkers were trying to understand these changes in society. They also wanted to try and find out the true meaning of life. They wanted to know about the true meaning of life. So, what were the rapid changes that took place around 2500 years ago? Some kings in the Mahajanapadas were growing more powerful. New cities were developing and the life was changing in the villages as well. And the thinkers were trying to understand these changes in society, and also they wanted to know about the true meaning of life. One of the thinkers was Siddhartha, also known as Gautama Buddha, the founder of the Buddhism. Gautama Buddha was the founder of the Buddhism, and he was born about 2500 years ago. Gautama Buddha was born about 2500 years ago, and he was the founder of the Buddhism. The Buddha belonged to a small Gana known as the Sakya Gana and was a Kshatriya. The Buddha belonged to a small Gana known as the Sakya Gana and was a Kshatriya. When he was a young man, he left the comforts of his life in search of knowledge. He wandered for several years, meeting and holding discussions with other thinkers. He finally decided to find his own path to realization and meditated for days on end under a peepal tree at Bodh Gaya in Bihar. He finally decided to find his own path and he meditated under a peepal tree at Bodh Gaya in Bihar, where he attained enlightenment. He then went to Sarnath near Varanasi, where he taught for the first time. He spent the rest of his life traveling on foot, going from place to place, teaching people till he passed away at Kusinada. The Buddha taught that life is full of suffering and unhappiness. This is caused because we have cravings and desires. So, Buddha taught that life is full of suffering and unhappiness because of our cravings and desires. Sometimes, even if we get what we want, we are not satisfied and even want more because our desires cannot be fulfilled. He described this as thirst or tanha. Buddha taught that by following a moderate path, the constant desires for things could be contained. He also taught people to be kind and respect the lives of others, including animals. He believed that the results of our actions, which is called karmas, whether good or bad, affect us both in this life and the next. So, what are karmas? The results of our actions, whether good or bad, affect us both in this life and the next step. The Buddha taught in the language of the ordinary people so that everybody could understand his message. So, the language in which Buddha taught his message was Prakrit. He also encouraged the people to think for themselves rather than simply accept what he said. Our next topic is Upanishads. There were other thinkers in this period who tried to find answers to difficult questions. Many of them wanted to know about life after death. And others wanted to know about why sacrifices should be performed. Many of these thinkers felt that there is something permanent in the universe and lasts even after death. They described this as the Atman or the individual soul and the Brahman or the universal soul. And they believed that ultimately both the Atman and the Brahman were one. Many of their ideas were recorded in the Upanishads. So, these thinkers' ideas were written in text called the Upanishads. These were part of the later Vedic text. Upanishads were part of the later Vedic text. Upanishad literally means approaching and sitting near and contain the conversations between students and teachers. Upanishads contain conversations between teachers and students. Most Upanishadic thinkers were men, especially Brahmins and Rajas. Occasionally, there is mention of women thinkers such as Gargi, who was known for her learning and also participated in debates held in royal courts. Poor people rarely participated in these discussions or debates. One famous exception was Satyagama Jabala, who was named after his mother, the slave woman Jabali. He had a deep desire to learn about reality, was accepted as a student by a Brahmin teacher named Gautama. Many of the ideas of the Upanishads were later developed by the thinker Shankaracharya, famous thinker Shankaracharya, that you will learn in class 7. Our next topic is Jainism, that we can discuss in our next class. Before winding the class, let's recall the points once again. Gautama Buddha founded Buddhism. The main teachings of the Buddha were that life is full of suffering caused by desires. By following a moderate path, the constant desire for things could be contained. He also preached kindness to all living things and stated that the results of our actions, good and bad, would affect us in this life and the next. The Upanishads tried to find answers to difficult questions such as life after death, why sacrifices had to be performed, etc. It dealt with topics such as the nature of the soul, Atman and Brahman. It advocated that Atman and Brahman were one. All of you should read your textbook and complete your notes. We will see next time.